Welcome to the Daily Decrypt's 100th episode. Now, I know we're just a news podcast, but I wanted to do something special to commemorate this occasion and this accomplishment because when I started this podcast on a whim right after Christmas of last year, I wasn't sure how long I'd be able to keep it up. I wasn't sure if anyone would even listen, but I really wanted a short form cybersecurity news podcast with high audio and video quality, and I just wasn't finding it anywhere else. Maybe the content was good, but the quality sucked. Or maybe the quality was great, but the content kind of sucked. And yeah, it was just on a whim. I decided, hey, I'm going to do that. I already have all the gear. I'm a former videographer, former musician. Let's get it done. And so I just started it and didn't know what was going to happen. I really wanted this podcast to also be a place where people could come of all different skill levels and learn or be prompted to think about something in a different way, which is a lofty goal that is not attained on every single episode. But I am proud to say that it has happened with a few viral videos on Instagram and tens of thousands of listens across all the platforms. I'm really glad that it can provide at least some value. But when I started this, I knew I couldn't do it alone. I knew I couldn't wake up every single day and read the news and edit it and come up with content and splice up videos. And so I open invite to my close friends in the cybersecurity field. You have heard in previous episodes sharing their knowledge in cybersecurity while delivering the news. And so this 100th episode is just a panel where me and the two other hosts of this podcast get together and we discuss a topic that we're all passionate about, which is just personal privacy and security. So again, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you stick around to listen to the panel, and hopefully you can come away with some pretty good tips or ways of thinking of something differently.
Dude, I feel like the majority of what happens is somebody will see a weird email, right? And they'll be like, let's check this out. So they just click into it. Obviously, like, it's human nature, we're curious, right? But man, if you know that you don't have a PayPal account, right, and you see an email from PayPal, just ignore it, dude. Just ignore it. Don't click on it. That's probably my first tip. If you see something that is unexpected in your inbox, just ignore it.
Just ignore it.
Just ignore it. If it's legit, they will keep contacting you.
You've seen that meme? That meme on Cybersecurity Instagram where it's, you can't get phished if you don't check your email.
It's like
yeah.
Steve
Carell
in the office, like shaking that dude's hand. He's just like, it's like me who never checks my email. Yeah.
It's so true. I have my email filtered so much. And if something gets through all the filters that I have, I'm still probably not even going to see it, honestly. So
I think that's true. I feel like I've given you like GitHub access or something to a repo, and I've had to go and remind you.
Like,
never seen it.
It's
never
saw it.
Yeah, you got to call me and text me. I love that. So just
ignore it.
Just don't be curious when it comes to things like links.
Yeah, you have to play defense. Every email I look at it like someone is trying to pull something over on me. I just kind of look at it through that lens,
And that's what I always try to encourage people is always be skeptical, but that can backfire and that can sound stressful and it's not a great perspective. I'd never heard the perspective of just don't open anything. A simple blanket rule. Don't open it.
Yeah. Because then there's also the saying trust but verify, but some people are too trusting, or maybe they don't know how to verify.
Right.
So you've got the trust part down, but you don't have the verification part down. So yeah,
it should be verify then trust, maybe.
Verify then trust.
Yeah, it's a really hard concept, especially I know you live in the South, I live in the South. In the South, it's very hard for people to understand that you can trust and also be skeptical, and you don't have to just open up your house to anyone who asks for you to open up your house, which is Southern quote hospitality. But Bill, how would you verify, even if you trust?
How would you verify?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm going down the wrong path here, but
yeah.
If something is emailed to you, it's not urgent.
Ooh.
So you always
right.
have time to think about the reply. Think about the action. Think about the response. Think about what's the next step. If it's emailed to you, doesn't need to be an immediate action. So if somebody emails you saying your bank account has been accessed, click this link to whatever, kick them out, verify your identity, take a minute. Because I've been called by the bank but it was automated and it said to call them back or whatever. But yeah, and then if it is something like your bank, call them before clicking links.
Trae, who gets got the most? Or by what kind of scam? Is it just like you said, PayPal? Like they don't even have a PayPal account, but it's like someone's logged into your PayPal. Click here to change your password. Or is it more like, your mom is calling you, but it's not actually your mom? Like what are some examples?
Yeah, so I haven't really seen a lot of deepfake stuff yet, but I feel like that's coming up, right? That's something that people like to talk about. You hear people spreading that, like, come up with a code word with people that that are close to you, that are important to you. Have that phrase or that code word, so that way if it's legitimate or not. So I feel like hopefully there's going to be some detections and stuff kind of like built around that.
Oh yeah.
Sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But man, a lot of this stuff it's emails. It's your standard, it's your Geek Squad, it's your Norton, McAfee, that type of stuff. And what kills me is that a lot of the people that contact us after the fact for any sort of remediation, they're like, and you know what? I clicked on this and I don't even think I have a McAfee account. I don't even think I have, which just goes back to our first point where it's like, okay, yeah, well, I mean, ignore it. Ignore it. That's because it's exactly like Bill said. If they emailed it to you, it's not important.
Yeah.
But on that same note, we've seen too where people are starting to spoof banks' caller ID, right? So
yeah,
a member of my family got a phone call from Navy Federal, and everything sounded legit, and he ended up having to go through some identity theft stuff because of these people that called him on the phone from a number that said Navy Federal on his caller ID. So people can spoof caller ID, and I know I've heard you guys say it here before, but if they call you, hang up on them. Hang up on them, and then go and find their number through your mobile app, or go to their website and then find the support number. Because if that person was legitimate and had a ticket that was assigned to them that had something to do with you, other people will be able to find what the issue was and be able to take it up with you. Because think about disconnections happen, things like that stuff happens. So if you have to, hang up on them and just go through the mobile app or go to the website, find the number and call them back. So, and my recommendation too, because we see these, whenever they get you on the phone, they're going to try and put you in the sense of urgency.
Yep.
Yeah. So don't even say, well, hey, I think I'm going to hang up. I think I'm going to try and find your number and call you back. Because if it's not legit, all you're going to get is, no, ma'am. If you hang up right now, we're not going to be able to help you. This is your only chance to fix this issue. So, right. They're going to trap you. They're going to make you think that, oh my God, I have to get this taken care of right now. Don't say anything. Just hang up.
So,
hang up and find the number.
So you're saying pretend like the call got disconnected as opposed to trying to politely leave the call?
Yeah, you could do that. One of those things, or just hang up.
Yeah.
Just hang up the phone. Hang up in button. Don't say anything. Just boop. Don't give them the opportunity to like rebuttal or try to say something to keep you on the phone. Don't do it. Just hang up.
This is coming from the front lines. I love to hear it because I never would have even considered that. To me, like whenever somebody calls me, I say, hey, what's your name? Is there a case number? What is another way that I can get in contact? You don't want to receive a phone number from them. You want to go do your own research and find the phone number associated with the company, blah, blah, blah. But like just a case number or their name or whatever, and then I hang up. But yeah, just a disconnected call. I like that.
Yeah. It seems rude, right? It goes against what we want to do as humans, right? We don't want to be rude to people. We don't want to just hang up. And this is where you kind of have to be discerning. We've all been on customer service calls. We know what legitimate ones sound like. This is where it gets hard, right? Because like that Navy Federal call, they can make it sound legit, but this is where you have to know typically what's asked for and what's not. If someone is asking you for like your social security number over the phone, no one's going to do that, or no one should do that.
Yeah.
So,
and even if they should, you shouldn't give it out. Even if it's the bank, if it really is the bank.
Most of the time,
figure it out.
What are they going to ask you? Hey, could you verify the last 4 digits of your social security number for me, please? They're not going to ask you to read off however many digits of a social security number. They're just not going to do it. So
I like the point that
ahead,
Colin brought up. Sorry, to ask them, give me a case number, give me an account number, give me something that identifies why you're calling and who. Like, give me a little bit of something as to what you know about me in my business with you before I'm going to give you anything else. But hang up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, TLDR on that one. First of all, yeah, don't be curious. Don't be curious. Don't open your crap. Don't answer your calls. If they need to get you, they're going to get you in multiple different ways. They'll probably send you a notification through the USAA app or the Navy Federal app or whatever. Don't even answer, first of all. But if you do answer and it sounds legit, yeah, hang up. If you want to get information to try to make the process easier to call them back, go ahead and try to get a case number. Otherwise, you can just hang up. They're not going to write a review on you. Like, baby Jesus isn't going to be judging you on this moment as you're entering the pearly gates. It's a trust but verify. It's not necessarily rude. So just...
You know what's funny? I think about, like, whenever I was selling insurance and you would get people on the phone, and there's something about having to call people, right, that I'm just uncomfortable doing. So I like to think about my experience. Like, if someone hung up on me, I'd be like, I don't have to talk to them.
Good to
know? So chances are, if they're a real person working, if you hang up on them, they're probably not even going to be upset. They're going to be like,
oh, yeah.
Someone else's problem, you know?
We get a call and we just picture this person just so stoked to talk to us. Like, it's making their day to talk. They don't want to talk to us.
Yeah, dude, they hate their job just as much as you do. So
yes. Don't answer or hang up.
See,
yeah.
I like trying to get them to hang up first.
Has that worked for you?
Oh, yeah. I get the scammers to hang up typically. I'll
Yeah.
start asking them questions back, or I'll start trying to go down a different tangent and, like, how this could affect my life. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's almost a tactic. Like, will a scammer hang up willingly? Right? Like, so if you're hey, if you're not a scammer, if you're my real bank, hang up. I don't know. Like, maybe that's a tactic.
Yeah.
The furthest, most of them hang up as soon as you start saying, can I get my, they call about credit card fraud. I say, okay, what type of card are we talking about? I have accounts with every vendor. And they'll go, oh, it's a Visa. Okay, give me the last 4 on there before I go any further. Oh, no. We just need your social security number. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll give it to you, but give me something. And they usually hang up as soon as you start asking for the number. There's been one instance where I was able to go a little bit further. They, tried to bounce it back. Oh, well, we can give you the account number once we verify this, and then I'll try to get something else. And but yeah, it's like 2 minutes and
they're gone.
They're on to the next one.
Yeah, just really anybody who won't give you anything, who needs your social security number. That will never happen.
Yeah.
In a legit setting.
And man, the thing is, these guys are so predatory too. So as soon as they get someone on the phone who especially if they've been able to get onto your computer, if they use these legitimate remote desktop software that we all know. So they'll use that to get onto the computer. Once they've got on the computers, they really treat you like you're a lead at that point. So if you do get that far, right, it also should be noted, don't let anyone remote onto your PC.
Oh
ever,
my gosh.
For any reason. There'll be very few reasons, few and far between, that someone would ever have to do that, right?
Cough, sans.
Don't let somebody remote onto your computer. That's crazy. Sorry, don't let somebody remote onto your computer. That's crazy.
It
is. They treat these people like they're leads, and then they will hound you after the fact. So if you do hang up, they've already gotten a little taste, right? So they want to keep coming. They want to keep trying to get in touch with you, right? You're literally a lead to them at this point. Someone who was gullible enough to let them get that far. How much farther can they take advantage of you? So we had these people contact this gentleman claiming to be from a financial institution that this gentleman did business with, and somehow convinced this person that they needed close to almost $100,000 from him in order to fix his financial account with them.
Makes sense.
And the crazy thing was they had this person go to 3 or 4 different banks to withdraw upwards of like $25,000, $26,000. And they're telling him on the phone, don't tell the tellers what this is for. The Citibank representatives on the phone are telling him, don't tell these Citibank employees what this is for. So at some point, you just have to like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What is going on, right? And that's a very extreme case. Hopefully the majority of people don't. They're able to identify and get rid of it. But man, there are those special cases where Dude, they just find a victim who is just so unaware of what's happening.
Right.
And dude, they won't stop until they bleed you dry. It's crazy.
That's wild.
It really is. Yeah.
Well, people are they're just inherently trusting, especially to a human voice. And then the second part is they're concerned about their financials.
Yeah, they're scared.
So whatever you're combining there, even the same thing with like vacation scams, where like you do get a vacation out of it. Or I want to say timeshare.
Just
I'm
say
sure.
it.
But my parents get hit up all the time for different vacations and things where they, oh, congratulations, you won a free vacation. You just got to pay the $200 docking fees or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can go on a cruise. And then they keep going further and further and further. And because they just make it sound like a deal the whole time, that's just so easy.
You're almost there. You're almost to the carrot.
Yeah, just $20,000 more and your account will be fine. So.
All right, Bill, what you got? What's your tip?
I don't know. I think my favorite right now is multiple emails, or what is it? I want to say it's called plus aliasing. I think there's another term for it, but where you can have multiple emails if you have something like Fastmail that makes it super simple, or you can just start tagging a plus sign between your account name and the @ symbol. So Daily Decrypt at this website.site, whatever, and then you just put Daily Decrypt plus. And you don't want to identify it like banking, but you know, something that you're going to know. And that way it starts separating the accounts from your actual email. And then it also gives you insight into who could be selling your information. When you sign up for sans.org, and then all of a sudden you're getting emails that aren't sans, that's a fun one to have.
Yeah. Thanks, Sans, for selling our info. I definitely switched over to a unique email address on my Sans account so that I could track them. Plus, aliasing is cool. I was just actually explaining to my girlfriend the other day because somebody asked for my email, who I didn't really want to give out my email to or my full name. And so it was funny because I own, the dailydecrypt.com or some other domain. I probably have like way too many domains that are catch-all domains, and so I just made my email his name at the catchalldomain.com, and he was like 80. He was so confused, but I just don't want to give out my email, and it has my full name in it or whatever. And so like plus aliasing +1 is buy a domain, link it to Fastmail, and make it a catch-all, and just start like an Apple account is apple@whatever.com or whatever. Then they can't build that profile on that one email address. I gave a talk on the dark web a few months ago, and I gave my real email, and I looked at it on the dark web, and there was like 500 breached sites. They might all have different passwords, but for most people they won't. And then they know that I have accounts here and here and here, and it's just they just build this profile on you based around your email address. So if you can confuse them. I'm trying to remember what the SANS class taught me. It's like if you can increase the cost of the attack, it's going to reduce the efficacy of the attack. Like the more expensive it is for someone to attack you, the less likely they are to succeed. So,
and
that's really cool.
I love that because they're not actually looking at the username and the password and manually typing it in, because like plus aliasing would never work. If you saw like, Daily Decrypt as the username plus something, you would go, oh, okay, then the original is with anything without the plus. But they're just going to punch it into a password spray and start hitting whatever sites that they might be able to identify. But if that plus alias is only linked to Bank of America, then that is the only site that's ever going to show up for. So they can't password spray and get into your old MySpace.
Right. And it's funny because we just set the Daily Decrypt up with some logging and some firewall rules and stuff like that on the dailydecrypt.com. And every time I log in, it's got the dashboard with the most failed logins. And as a podcast, you have to have an email linked to the RSS feed, and so I use a Fastmail. I think it's Swift Rain something. You can, anyone out listening can look it up, but it's all variants of that email. It's either the full email or it's the front part of it in front of the @ sign, or it's space, or they just are automating. They're taking every RSS email and just doing their magic to it. They're not personally attacking you. So yeah, pretty interesting.
And you know what else I think is like a kind of like an underrated thing? I was gonna say keep it up with data breaches. I just know recently, right? You've had the Ticketmaster data breach. You've also had a Neiman Marcus data breach, which is impactful for me because Neiman Marcus is like a high-end, whatever, clothing store, right? I think a retailer, high-end retailer. High-end retailer, right? So a lot of our clients shop at Neiman Marcus.
I thought you were trying to say you are exclusively a Neiman Marcus shopper.
No, this
impacts me personally.
This shirt has dogs playing instruments on it. I don't think they would have this at
Hockety.
I don't think they would have that at Neiman Marcus. But being aware of like sites and places that you visit, you're like, oh, I heard about a data breach, like AT&T, Ticketmaster, stuff like that. You're probably going to see an increase in spam stuff around times like that, right? Whenever this information gets bought and sold, people are like, I was recently named in this breach, and all of a sudden my emails are just blowing up. It's like, yeah, I'm sure they are. That's not really a top tip. It's just, it's so coincidental because we do a lot of dark web scrubbing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we have clients that have probably like 15, 20 different email addresses that we monitor for. And dude, there's just so much stuff out there.
I mean, people might not know that there are free search engines across the dark web. And I mean, people might not know what it means if your stuff shows up on the dark web. But essentially, it's been leaked in a data breach, and it's essentially public knowledge, right? And then you can go to haveibeenpwned.com. Exactly. And you can search for your email and see where it's been breached, on what accounts, whatever. But what's interesting is you can also search for your password, and it'll just search the whole dark web to see if that specific password has been leaked. If it has, it's probably in a dictionary being plugged in automatically, because like, you know, how quickly can a bot go through every word in the dictionary? It's like less than a fraction of a second. So every password that's ever been leaked might take a second. And yeah, pro tip, if your password includes the word password, it's been leaked. So
time to change it. Pro tip, just use a password manager. Any form of a password manager. Any form, you know. Just something. Something is better than nothing.
Anything is better than nothing. If you're going to go from nothing to something, I'd recommend against Apple whatever it's called, keychain, or browser-based password managers. Like, it's just the Chrome password manager or the Safari password manager. Like, just if you're going to go from nothing to something, go from nothing to one password. But if you're using them already, go for it's great.
Yeah. The good news is if you are using something like Keychain or Chrome or something like that, you can import your passwords into that CSV and then just take that CSV and dump it into something like 1Password or the other one that gets breached a lot. You know? So,
however,
delete that CSV.
I wasn't going to say it.
Depending on what you're using, they don't always give you recommended passwords. And it might just store your password. So if you're just dumping that into a password manager, you are essentially just copying your non-unique password over to your manager.
Yeah. And so, to be clear, non-unique password includes passwords where the majority of it is the same and the last 2 digits are changed. That is the same password, just for anyone who's listening. That's the same password.
Work. We do these 1Password enrollment sessions. And so the first session is just introducing people to 1Password. Like, hey, this is what it is. Because it can be kind of from someone that's never used anything like that before, or for someone that doesn't have that password hygiene. It's not like on the forefront of their mind. It's just like, what the fuck am I looking at? And they don't trust it at first. You mean like, so I'm putting all my passwords in this one thing. You're like, yeah, literally putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Yeah. So it's very important that we set this up correctly. You know, like the emergency kit. Don't do like me in Savannah or in Augusta where I immediately box myself out.
Do I need this?
I've done that.
Yes. You know, so don't be like that. But yeah, so we will walk people through setting it up, and really we just import their passwords at first, and we'll show them how to go, because there's 2 parts of it. You got the password manager, and they think like, okay, cool, I'm set. They don't realize that they have to go into all these websites and manually change their passwords. That's where we start to lose people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's where they're like, oh, I don't want to have to, I don't even know my password to get into that site, let alone change it, you know?
True.
So it's just like, well, you can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink it, kind of thing, you know?
That's true.
Make the pitch that they don't have to change every password immediately upon adopting a password manager, do it every time you log in. And that's, so I'm going to counter your point of copying keychain or whatever you're currently using. Don't copy your passwords over. Run both of them temporarily, and then every time you're prompted to log in, then go get your current password, then use your password manager to change it. That's just one more off the list. Because yeah, that's usually what I've experienced that turns everybody off is, oh, I have to change everything.
Yeah.
And that's even when I went to a password manager in 2016, that was my approach was, all right, I'm paying for this thing. I got to give it got to go through it all.
Yeah.
And one long day later, I hated it.
Yeah, you're burnt out.
Dude, it was definitely overwhelming the first time. I was like, what the f have I gotten myself into? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple of in-laws recently switch over to password managers, and that's what I suggested to them, and they've taken it as a very manageable approach instead of the initial pitch of getting them to sign up for a password manager. Then they immediately went to that thought of, oh, I have to change everything now. And it's no.
Yeah.
Go one at a time. Every time you log in, if it's not in your password manager, go ahead and create it.
Yeah, I mean, yes. But there's also some ones that you do want to change right away.
Well, yeah. I usually suggest your bank.
Yeah.
Your
Bank,
email.
yeah.
Pick the critical ones. Think about what would really suck. You can't secure it if you don't know what's critical, right? That's kind of like a key.
Yeah.
A key in the cybersecurity industry is, if you don't know what you need to secure, you can't secure it. So yeah, make sure that you change your 401k and anything that you use for single sign-on like Google or Facebook are also very important to change right away.
Yeah.
And then if you have an account that was breached, like Ticketmaster we've been talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of
That's
fun.
another one. If you think of that come up, then, oh, I haven't changed that one because I haven't logged into Ticketmaster in forever. Change that.
Yeah, the thing with Ticketmaster too is a lot of what we have seen has been phone numbers have been breached. So not only do you need to go and think about hardening with your carrier, which includes setting up like a PIN on your account. Also, you can set up a SIM PIN. Everyone's very concerned with SIM swapping.
Very hot.
It's hot, and it can be done. But a really good way to lock that down is to go through your carrier and find out what your default SIM PIN is. It's carrier based, right? Don't try and guess it because you can lock yourself out.
Oof.
But you can set up your own SIM PIN. It's only 4 digits, right? So it's better than nothing. But that can help prevent from SIM swap attacks. But if your phone number gets leaked on the dark web, then you have to think about what if you're even using multi-factor authentication, which we hope you are. What are your multi-factor authentication methods? Is one of them SMS? Because then you might have to think about, well, if someone has my phone number, how hard would it be for them to kind of like steal that two-factor authentication token or something like that, or get MFA bombed to the point where you just give them access? So that's another thing to think about too, is your MFA methods if your phone number has been found out there or something.
I didn't know about SIM pins, and I'm curious, when are you prompted for a SIM pin? Is it when you're trying to change your phone? Like they'll prompt
probably
you
whenever
for it?
you're trying. Yeah, probably when you're trying to remove your SIM card or anything like that. Yeah,
And so
I haven't really played around with it much, but yeah, it's supposed to. Whenever you go to try and remove the SIM or put the SIM into another phone to activate it, it's going to probably ask you for that PIN code.
So I'm assuming that when the carrier is attempting to port over your number to a new device, if it's the default one, you're never prompted because they just know it, right? But if you've changed it, they can't even get into your SIM. That's my guess.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. I haven't really played around with it much, but the SIM PIN is a thing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
If you go to the cellular portion, it's under cellular, and under carrier services, you'll see something for SIM PIN. You can't see it, but it's there. And you can get that set up. Like I said, you'll want to go through, if you have AT&T, just call them and find out. Verizon, they don't have a default that you need to put in first in order to set it.
Okay, yeah.
The SIM PIN.
That's one of the things I'm not entirely sure because SIM swapping is very scary and is definitely doable. It's usually through social engineering people on the other end of a phone to port over a number to their device so that they can receive two-factor authentication. And one thing I knew you could do is you can call the carrier and put a block on your account, kind of like credit freezing, but you can make it so that only you can port over your number in person. and the carrier will allow that unless you use a carrier that doesn't have offices like I do. They require, anytime I want to port over my number, it requires a code from an authenticator app, which is great. That's by default. I love my provider. I'm not going to give it to you guys so you don't come after me, but SIMPIN, huge. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely a cool thing you can do to just an extra layer of protection.
That's the most interesting thing to me about cybersecurity, and that's pretty much why I have this podcast, is like you can study, you can get your master's, you can get your PhD in cybersecurity, you can know the ins and outs of Active Directory and all this cloud infrastructure and all that stuff, and it all comes down to a phishing
human
attack.
element.
Cannoling.
Yes.
The human element.
All comes down to security awareness and these little tips here. So if you're a security practitioner out there listening to this, you might think this is boring. I don't know. I've been doing it for a while. I don't think this is boring. But it's like 99% of attacks are from this stuff. So, once we figure that out, then, we can all do more technical stuff.
Our job is to focus on what happens after the link is clicked. Mm-hmm. That's when you get into all the crazy stuff. That's when you need all of that technical knowledge. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be that click that gets them in. Like even looking at Microsoft. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't a phishing initially. That's how they escalated through. But it started off with just poor password management.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we need to focus on locking down what happens after the fact.
Yeah, we need to make it so that if a link is clicked, nothing can happen. Harden the systems, reduce the pathways, set up some deception. I recorded an episode before this, and I'm trying to remember what the story was. Oh, it was that some info-stealing malware is masquerading around as ebooks found on torrent websites. So if you go and you want to read a book, and you don't want to pay for it, you go to the torrent website, you download the torrent, however that process works, and now you have this book. The book is a PDF. The PDF...
Macro.
Yeah, it launches its macros. You read the book. It's not very visible that it's happening. But my tip for that came to me was to use canarytokens.org is my favorite place, right? And so if you have a little directory that houses all of your books or whatever, maybe put something enticing near that directory or in that directory, like an Excel spreadsheet that's named like crypto passwords or something. And if that gets clicked on, it sends you an alert and you know something's up, right? But that's more of an intermediate tip because it does take some finesse. You have to configure your antivirus to not scan that file. You have to set it up so that it's visible or whatever. canarytokens.org is a free resource and it's very fun to play around with, and I highly recommend it.
That's cool. Yeah.
Love that.
That's awesome.
I do some of that.
Yeah.
Initially upon your recommendation.
Nice.
Yeah. You were looking at that a few years ago and told me about it, and I decided it's a good idea. I'll throw that in a couple directories just to see if... Not that I'm snagging any books out there, but...
Yeah, we don't torrent. We're rich. We buy all our crap.
We work in cybersecurity.
Yeah, just don't look in the closet right there.
This has been the Daily Decrypt. If you found your key to unlocking the digital domain, show your support with a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It truly helps us stand at the frontier of cyber news. Don't forget to connect on Instagram or catch our episodes on YouTube. Until next time, keep your data safe and your curiosity alive.